Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Tuesday, the 27th of June. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined for the first time this week by Jonny McFarlane. How are we doing, Jonny?
Good, mate. Good. I just want to say, first and foremost, I want to encourage this idea of having some sort of bingo gambling event prior to us coming on, so that you guys are all deciding, is it going to be 9:32? Is it going to be 9:33? Is it going to be 9:34? Maybe we can get sponsored by McBookie. I just want to congratulate Aldo the Sniper McNaught. 9:34, mate. You were spot on. Well done.
We need to get prizes sorted, Jonny, I think, for anyone that gets it bang on. That would be a good idea, I think, to send out to the winner. I know there is a sweep in the morning, like you say. So well done, Aldo, this morning. You're a great start to the day, as they say. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Right, let's talk. Lots to talk about. Before we, let's mention our podcast sponsors before we talk about an exciting event taking place next week, Jonny. Seneca Hair Restoration, the #1 hair transplant group in Europe. If you're looking to restore some lost self-confidence, then these are the guys to go to. They are all their transplants carried out by doctors. They are a multi-award winning, as well as that, we're told that their procedures take place in Glasgow, and they also are available for consultations not only in Glasgow but Edinburgh and Aberdeen as well. So no need to travel far for their first class service. And as ever, I've bunged the all-important links in the description box down below. So do go and check them out, folks. So let's talk about this exciting event then, Jonny. As I touched on yesterday with you, and over the weekend, folks, you may have seen that we will be staging Rangers Review Live. You can see there on the screen in front of you if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. It will be staged at New Edmiston House on Friday, July 28th, kicking off at 6:30. It'll be myself, Jonny, Joshua, and Stevie, as well as a very special guest as well. Jonny, of course, subscribers should have received an email over the weekend giving you first dibs on tickets for that event before it will go on public sale. Jonny, what can people expect, and what should be a really exciting occasion next month?
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Obviously, we've been working with Rangers to get New Edmiston House booked, something that we wanted to do right away when it first became clear when exactly the new building was opening. And we thought it'd be a great way to connect with everyone. Obviously, it was essentially still the COVID times when we started up, and not had a chance to get everyone together. So this would be a great opportunity to do that. It's going to be a morning brief taken to the extremes. We're going to have a sit-down chat, just a regular podcast. The four of us, the usual insight, analysis, banter, for roughly about an hour. We'll have a wee half-an-hour break, allow everyone to get drinks, maybe a bite to eat, and come back with you, Derek, sitting down with a very, very special mystery guest. That's not going to be announced, so it's going to be a mystery. But let me tell you, it's a good one. It's a very good one. So yes, it's going to be a night of fun and frolics. I think it's a 6:30 start. It's safe to say that it's going to be at least 2.5 hours when you factor in that break, Derek. So there's absolutely plenty going on. There'll also be raffles and giveaways. We've got some great prizes. So it'll be a fantastic night. Good opportunity for everyone who enjoys the Rangers Review to get together. Now, what I would say, Derek, is these tickets are not available yet because we're going to our subscribers first on the website. Yes. So those emails are out. If you're a subscriber, you should have had one. There's 2 tiers of tickets, one at £25 and one at £20. The £25 ones are right up front, the front rows, and then the standard tickets are behind that. I think there's 520 odd tickets available for the venue. It's all seated. And it should be a cracking night right before the start of the season. Everyone will be so hyped and excited, and we'll have a great chat and a good laugh. And I think there'll be plenty of booze and things to do. So it'll be a cracking night. But only subscribers just now. Public sale begins tomorrow, and then hopefully we'll sell out.
Fantastic. Yeah, really looking forward to that, folks. So like Jonny says, you should have had an email if you are a subscriber giving you the opportunity to buy those tickets. A few comments coming in, Jonny. Marcus says, morning guys, Derek, my ticket says 6:30 for a 7 p.m. start. Can you clear it up? Yeah, doors open at 6:30, am I right, Jonny?
Yes, that's right. But we will start at 7. So I think get yourself come in, get yourself a drink, get yourself seated, and then we'll be on for 7.
Yeah. Yeah, and
well, that might be 7:04. You can start taking your bets on exactly what time we'll start.
Yeah, absolutely. And James Strachan says, live show in Coffs Harbour, Australia, advertising Crocodile Derek. Listen, that may be in the pipeline at some point in the future, James. Would love to come out there. But yeah, certainly this will be the first time we have done a live event at New Edmiston House. So let's see how that goes. But I'm sure it's going to be a great night had by all. Right, let's talk about the here and now and Rangers, of course. Big news last night, Jonny. Again, off-field issues. Very interesting story developing with Rangers. And of course, the long-running saga with the SPFL. They have been granted unprecedented permission by the SFA to take the SPFL to court as they seek an apology and legal costs over the Cinch sponsorship dispute. It's been a long-running row, of course, between the Ibrox club and the governing body. It stems from the title sponsorship agreement that the chief executive of the SPFL, Neil Doncaster, signed with Cinch back in June 2021. This is quite a remarkable story, Jonny, but I think Rangers well within their rights to pursue this. Just a complete mess, it appears to me, from the governing bodies, from the off, really, with regards to sponsorship issues, and it's rumbling on still.
Yes, indeed it is. Look, this situation should be very, very, very simple because there's been an expectation based on the mediation that took place between Rangers and the SPFL that there would be an apology and the offer of damages on the basis of an agreement that Rangers were in the right that they should not be part of the Cinch deal. Who's to blame for that in terms of why the Cinch deal wasn't Rangers weren't given more time to respond to it? Why? That's not accurate. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Why they didn't spend more time talking to Rangers about why they couldn't take part and have avoided all this? That's on the management of the SPFL. I think there will have to be questions asked about the way they've gone about it, because it's quite clear that now this is not just a continuing bun fight, but this could end up costing the SPFL and by extension the rest of the clubs a significant portion of cash, because it's not just costs that Rangers are after, it's damage to reputation. And this could be a situation that could be really, really, really difficult for Scottish football, given that the money that we're talking about is significant here. I think we're talking about certainly high six figures, possibly. It's going to be one that's going to be very, very difficult, I think, for the rest of the clubs to get their heads around about why it's happened like this.
Yeah, lots of comments coming in with regards to it. There's one here, an interesting one that popped in from Alan Hall. It says, silly question, but why did we need SFA permission to take SPFL to court? I think they oversee the whole of Scottish football, isn't it, Jonny? Is that's the reason they did need to go to the SFA first to take the SPFL to court, in effect?
Yeah, it's all the legal frameworks of Scottish football. There's various ways you go about things, and it's all set up prior to anyone agreeing to join the league. So when the SPFL set up, it was part of the framework. There's a lot of legal stuff around sport, and of course the highest arbitrator is the...
Oh, Jonny's just frozen there in mid-shot. Hopefully we'll get him back shortly. He needs to put 50 pence in the meter there, but we'll there
Sorry, Derek, what happened there?
He's back. Fantastic stuff. Right, there's a few questions coming in. Just harping back to the live show. Just want to clear these up before we carry on. Dana Life says, not had an email yet. Perhaps check your spam folder or your junk folder, buddy. See if it's in there. If not, then drop us a DM on Twitter or Facebook or the likes, and we'll try and chase it up for you. Dave Fulton says, will it be recorded and uploaded maybe as a members video for us that can't attend? Is there any talk of that, Jonny?
Possibly. That's we're looking into that at the moment.
Yeah, okie dokie, fantastic stuff. Right, let's move on. Let's move on to transfers because there's a lot of talk coming in with regards to that. Graham Morrison raises a point. Morning, lads. I like the link to Sima at Brighton. Hopefully, a loan to buy or a Bayern type deal. Come on, the Rangers, he says. This one is looks like it carries weight. Jonny Abdallah Sima, of course, we know all about from his time at Slavia Prague. He moved to Brighton, which surprised me. A couple of years ago, I was looking to see where he would move on to, and it wasn't really heralded at the time, but he moved to Brighton, never played a game. Was loaned out to Stoke City, never set the hell of a light, and had a more productive season last season over in France at Angers over there. Rangers looking for a loan move next season. I've got to say, if they get, speaking to Ewan yesterday, I like the look of the lad when he played against Rangers in those Europa League knockout ties. He's sort of, like many of the signings that have pitched up at Rangers recently, maybe fallen away a little bit in recent times. But if they can get the Slavia Prague Sima, he could be a very good acquisition.
Yeah, actually, really liked him, Derek. I think we were all warned about him prior to those games that he was going to be the next big thing. And sure enough, he got his big move to Brighton. A bit like Atalanta with Sam Lammers, you know that they're not signing Diddies. It's a straightforward one. These are clubs that are extraordinarily well managed. There's a reason why they're high in Serie A and the Premier League, respectively, despite their lack of resources. So him coming to Rangers is a coup, and my understanding is that the reports have been accurate, that Sima is a player that Rangers are looking at, and it's one that the club are hoping to finalise sooner rather than later. I would expect another couple of deals probably to be done before Rangers get back to it, as it were. And this is one of the ones I would fancy to be sealed. Now, there's a few players actually that the club have watched. There's a long list, and a number of these names have been linked. But a few of them are just not really. I wouldn't say they're not accurate, but they're quite far down. And if a variety of things don't come off, then Rangers will start looking down at some of these names.
Yeah.
The one that obviously springs to mind is Traore, and the lad that plays in Sweden. Someone that they've looked at, but a remote possibility. So in terms of Sima, that's, I think, progressing quite nicely, and a deal that I, for one, am pretty excited about. This is a guy who can play wide, obviously. Rangers don't really play wingers, and I would fancy him to be converted, almost playing in that Sakala type role as a sort of 9.5 coming out from.
There's a question. There's a comment. There's a comment coming in, Jonny, saying, would that be the end of Sakala if Sima was to come in?
I don't think so, I don't think so. I think, again, there's a sort of misconception amongst some Rangers fans that I see quite a lot on social media now. I think if you listen to this, you won't have a misconception, but I see a lot about, we need to replace Daniel Candeias. We still haven't replaced the right winger. Rangers don't play with a right winger. They haven't under Michael Beale. They play two up front. Those guys will shift back when the ball is not in their possession, and they'll cover the wing spaces. But I think Rangers need 4 central strikers, and I'm not including Sam Lammers in that. So I think Fashion Sakala, Kemar Roof, and 2 more that will come in. Because Lammers can play as a 9 as well, that gives you a bit more cover for Roof if he has an injury problem, because you can't rely on him. So I'm expecting to see 2 strikers, 2 number 9s. So We know that Dessers has taken a long time. I would suggest that that's taken enough time that you would have to start to question that one. It's just common sense. And I think the other one could be Sima. So that would give Rangers a fair bit of firepower, I'd say.
Yeah, I want to get to a few comments that are coming in. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the donation from the wonderfully named Fruit Pastel God 208. He says, "This is this squad with any new additions good enough to progress in the Champions League? Would prefer another Europa League run." That's from Andy from Newcastle. Well, thank you very much for your donation, Andy. It's very much appreciated. That's the $1 million question, Jonny. It remains to be seen if they will be good enough to progress past the Champions League qualifiers. I think, by all accounts, the teams that they can face in the third qualifying round, the teams in there look beatable. I would fancy Rangers against all of them. However, I think they can play the likes of Marseille and PSV in the playoff round should they progress to that stage. And I think it's imperative that they boost their firepower before going into those games.
Yeah, listen, it's always going to be difficult. I know the temptation is to say, well, Rangers should be getting to the Champions League because they got there last year.
Yeah.
It was actually a really good achievement by Giovanni Van Bronckhorst to get through those ties. USG are a great team. And I think there was a sort of sense that they weren't that good. And, the 2-0 game was a bit of a freak in Belgium. It wasn't. They did a really good run in the Europa League last year. And to beat them 3-0 Ibrox, that's what happened. It was a tremendous night and a tremendous result. And the only reason it's kind of a little bit forgotten, I think, probably is just because it came on the back of so many amazing European nights at Ibrox. And then you've got the PSV game. I think the away performance was the best one, perhaps, in the whole of Gio's reign in terms of away from home. Really good performance. You get to the Champions League, and then obviously you get the group from hell. Napoli were, I find it astonishing, to be honest, they didn't get past Inter. That was a real shocker for me because I think they were better by a long shot.
Maybe they're concentrating too much in the league, maybe.
Yeah. I think there was too much emotion surrounding that title. In another season, I think they would have got to the final. We know Ajax are always strong. That's just the way they are, and they'd spent an absolute fortune. They didn't have a good season domestically, but there was a lot of talent there. And of course, that first game against Ajax defined the Champions League campaign last year. And it came right after that horror show at Parkhead, which I think demoralised the
disaster.
team. And then you had the other tie was Liverpool, and Liverpool can do anything to anyone, as Manchester United saw last season. So again, a mercurial team and a bit of a mercurial season for them last year, but still completely capable of it.
Saying that, I think I'm of the opinion if Michael Beale's in charge of that team in the Champions League group stage, Jonny, I think Rangers pick up, for a start, more points and give a better account of themselves. Would you agree?
You know what, Derek? I'm loath to be getting into a stage where we're giving away emphatic predictions about the Champions League because the reality of it is just this, that the gap between the haves and have-nots now is so huge that I think Rangers can go against teams that can take them apart no matter who's in charge.
Yeah.
We know the Premier League is effectively like the Super League of the world at the moment. And the quality that's in that league throughout it, even at the bottom of the league, is enough to beat teams from Scotland. It doesn't really matter who's in charge. And I'd be concerned in the Champions League if you get a painful draw that it could be a very, very difficult year. And I think part of the problems in the league last year, there was a kind of death spiral around Gio that came from these batterings in the Champions League and these poor results. And it created a sense of chaos and almost crisis around the team that wasn't necessarily accurate. It was more the group.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand the original point, to get back to it, about why you might prefer the Europa League. But let's get one thing straight. You need to get through that first stage.
Yeah.
Because there's a £5 million parachute payment to any teams that get knocked out at the playoff stage. And that's a significant addition to the budget. So if Rangers had gone out against USG last year, they wouldn't have got that. And of course, they didn't get it in the end because they went to the Champions League.
Yeah.
But it really does. It does make a difference, and I think the absolute main thing is to get through that first qualifier, and then if you get a Marseille, if you get a PSV, it's obviously going to be difficult. You fancy your chances, but you've got the windfall at the end should it not go well. And of course, the Europa League, we all know Rangers can cope really, really well at that level, and we'll get a number of really good, exciting games that are going to be even at Ibrox. Well, your rivals across the city, let's be honest, there's a huge fight for the league this year. If they're in the Champions League and Rangers in the Europa League, that might be a wee element of additional boost as well, because they could similarly get a group where they're battered week in, week out. And that's not great for confidence, as we saw last year.
Yeah, big thanks to James and others for just correcting you, Jonny, there. He says that AC Milan knocked Napoli out.
Skylarker was also saying quite rightly that it's €5 million, not £5 million.
Yeah.
So I'm having a bit of a meal this morning.
Thank you for the corrections, folks. Just on your Diddy comment, Jonny, Alex Campbell says, morning coffee everywhere with the word Diddy, journalist argument. Not heard that for a while, but it's a brilliant word, Diddy, absolutely. Robert Godfrey says, just harping back to the live show, hi lads, been a paid subscriber since November last year, but no email in my inbox. Have I been missed? Message us, Robert, on if you're on Twitter, on Facebook, message us in our inbox, and we'll try and get to the bottom of that. You should have received it, and maybe one or two that may not see it in their inbox. We'll try and get to the bottom of that. Just harping back to the Champions League, Jonny, an interesting little thing I saw on Twitter yesterday from the account Football Talk HQ about the potential pots should Rangers make it in to those group stages. The Rangers would be in pot 3 alongside, this is bear into account that the most likely teams to qualify from the qualifiers do so. So Rangers would be in pot 3 alongside Shakhtar, Red Bull Salzburg, Dinamo Zagreb, AC Milan, Braga, Lazio, and Red Star Belgrade. Just to give you an idea of who'd be in pot 1, Man City, Sevilla, Barcelona, Napoli, Bayern Munich, PSG, Benfica, and Feyenoord. Pot 2, Real Madrid, Man United, Inter, Dortmund, Atletico Madrid, RB Leipzig, Porto, and Arsenal. And in pot 4, Copenhagen, Young Boys, Real Sociedad, Galatasaray, Celtic, Newcastle, Union Berlin, and Lens. So certainly, there's an opportunity there. I think Rangers could potentially get a Europa League looking group. You look at Feyenoord in that top league, another one that Eredivisie last season. Benfica, Rangers have had decent results against in the past. Arguably should have beaten them on both occasions. In pot 2, you're looking at some of the teams in there. There are some mighty looking sides, but Leipzig are in there, beaten them already. Porto, Rangers basically own Portugal when they come up against sides. And pot 4, of course, there's teams in there you fancy your chances as well. So doesn't look.
Suddenly I'm feeling so confident, Derek.
Yeah, it's the luck of the draw, of course. Rangers need to navigate past the qualifiers as well, but if they do so, it doesn't look quite as daunting as it might have done last season, I would say.
Yeah, listen, you could end up with Man City, Real Madrid, Rangers, Newcastle.
That's the flip side.
So I'm careful about these things, but yes, you're absolutely right, Derek. You could get something like Feyenoord, RB Leipzig, Rangers, Young Boys, and that's much, much more of an attractive Europa League looking group. Certainly, I wouldn't have any concerns about Rangers playing a Copenhagen or a Young Boys, or even a Lens in France. So, listen, it could go fine, but it could go painful. So you have to kind of find the balance between the two. There is obviously going to be more money available in the Champions League this year because Rangers have improved their pot again. So I think Rangers received the second lowest amount possible, 31 of 32 clubs. Hopefully that'll have improved a little bit and they can start building up more and more finances when they achieve the Champions League. But listen, Derek, as long as they get through that first third round qualifier, I don't think there's too much to get perturbed about for the club. Obviously, it'd be fantastic to be in the Champions League from a, I suppose, just from a glamour point of view. You know, the financial elements of it are greater. But as you say, the competition elements in the Europa League are better most of the time, unless you get very lucky and have a wonderful draw. Because what you don't want is you don't want to get into a situation where the fans themselves are getting a little bit disenchanted. You know, another battering like we saw last year, and then the Champions League becomes one of those things that people aren't as excited about. That wouldn't be good. I think Michael Beale will think that for it to be his team and his team at a European stage, he'll need another season, Derek. I mean, realistically, I mean, to kind of get them drilled into that kind of different style of football, it'll probably be another year before he's totally comfortable that they're ready. You know, another year's experience. There's a lot of new players coming in, a lot of players going out, and we know that it takes time. He's got to hit the ground running domestically, but that's a completely different kettle of fish than doing it in the Champions League or doing it in the Europa League. It's just a different standard. So I think Michael Beale will feel that, and but he'll be desperate to get to the Champions League, Derek. That's the way football guys think. They'll always back themselves.
Ian Thompson raised the point. This is last year of the current formation. How does next year's Champions League look different? It is getting expanded by 4 teams, I'm sure. I think there'll be a sort of single group section where every team plays 8 games, 4 at home, 4 away. And then it breaks up into knockout, I'm sure, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, listen, it's turning into the European Super League that was put forward by a handful of clubs a couple of seasons ago. I think UEFA pandering to the richest and most wealthiest clubs, of course. But on the back of that as well, Jonny, I mean, this upcoming World Cup Club World Cup.
Easy for you to say, mate.
Yeah, no idea what it is. Club World Cup spot. The Rangers in line for that if they have another decent campaign in Europe, which looks lucrative to say the least.
Yeah, well, I've seen figures of £25 million bandied about. Certainly, that looks like an incredibly exciting tournament. It's in America. Do I fancy the Rangers review going across there for that? A little bit. So, yes, I would very much like to see Rangers get there for multiple reasons. But, you know, it's an exciting period, Derek. You know, start of the season.
Football's changing, isn't it?
The trauma of last year is gone. We can look ahead now with a bit of confidence. Rangers have got a manager that understands Scottish football, I think, a little bit better than Gio. I don't mean to... I thought Gio was a great guy. I've said this many times. Very nice to me whenever I dealt with him. And a very good manager, actually.
I think Red fans' comments were quite interesting, Jonny. I think they sum up Gio. He's a great guy. You can crack a joke with him. You can talk football with him for hours. But Red fan obviously saying he was more jokey with the players, whereas Michael Beale is more serious. I can sort of see where he's coming from there.
Yeah, I think Michael Beale has more of an edge to him than Gio does, even though, you know, Gio is not going to have had the career he's had, be the captain of the places that he was captain without having an edge to him as well. But I just think Gio's more of a relaxed guy than Michael Beale, maybe. Michael Beale, to be honest, is quite relaxed compared to Steven Gerrard. But Gio's, you know, he's Dutch, and they have a sort of air about them. I don't think Gio got particularly up or down based on the circumstances. He's quite a straight guy. I'm sure he would have been feeling the pressure towards the end at Rangers, obviously, but he doesn't allow himself to get, I think, bent out of shape too much by things. Michael Beale, another one. He's going to have an edge to him. I haven't really seen that too much in press conferences, but I've heard from people who worked for him previously under Steven Gerrard that he doesn't take any nonsense. So I wasn't that surprised.
Yeah, interesting. Just on the Champions League World Club World Cup. Is there an indication of how much money each team entering the Club World Cup will receive by Skylarker? Yeah, a minimum of £25 million has been mooted for each club, so certainly lucrative. Before we wrap up, nice Elvis gets in touch. Great to meet you Saturday at Gig Lane. Junior, love this shout out. Thanks for that. Keep up the good work. Yeah, it was great meeting your son Elvis and meeting yourself as well. That was a fantastic day out down at Bury at the weekend. Over £41,000, I think the latest has been raised from the Rangers supporters, and some Bury fans as well made their way along to the game. So absolutely fantastic effort, great cause. The League Rugby Foundation very much appreciative of the generosity of the Rangers supporters. And actually, I've done a little vlog on that game on our YouTube channel, folks, so you can go and check it out at your leisure. Just wanted to touch on this before we wrap up, Jonny. Sad news yesterday of the passing of Craig Brown. Mark Lawson says another great character lost from the game. RIP Craig Brown, formerly on the books of Rangers as a young player between 1957 and 1961, and of course the longest serving Scotland manager, the last manager to guide the country to the World Cup back in 1998. You won't find a person that won't have a good word to say about Craig Brown, Jonny. He really was one of the game's good guys, wasn't he?
Yeah, he really was, and I've got personal experience of that. I dealt with Craig a few times over my career, and he was really, really helpful to me when I was a student. I contacted him to appear in a documentary that I was doing. I was obviously a complete nobody, a bumbling idiot when it came to journalism. Not much has changed. But he was so nice, gave up his time, and really was fantastic to deal with, and a real help and encouragement, and took time to talk to you as well outside of the interview, and how you're getting on, what you're doing, what you want to do next, and just a really, really, really nice guy. And you can see from the outpouring of emotion that's taking place on Twitter, especially from people in the media and people who worked for him and with him, just the measure of the man, because he genuinely was a kind character, and someone who would go out of his way to talk to you and make you feel welcome. And he was a funny wee guy as well. Always had a glint in his eye. Slightly different maybe in person to his kind of media persona. He was a wee bit more mischievous, a wee bit funnier, but just a terrific gentleman, and that's how I'll remember him.
Yeah, lots of great stories coming out. Seen a great one from Jamie Murphy actually yesterday, where he gave him £250 to take the Motherwell team out, saying it was from the club, but he knew it was from him. He's had a heart of gold, and he'll be sadly missed. So thoughts and prayers go out to Craig's close friends and family after his sad passing at the age of 82 yesterday. Right, before we wrap up, you can see the little ticker below if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. If you're not already aware, we have launched a members. You can join the YouTube channel and become a member of our YouTube channel. Over 200 members now, which has been a fantastic take up on YouTube. You will get 3 to 5 extra videos per week, so a lot more content for members. We've had chats with the transfer gurus on Rangers prospective signings, and we've also delved deep into some of the new signings that are arriving Brooks in the summer. Dujon, Sterling, Sam Lammers being just 2 of those. So it's been greatly received by it. We've getting a lot of feedback, good feedback from people that have signed up. So thank you to each and every one of you for doing so. There should be a join button on the YouTube homepage, folks. It has to be a desktop version, though. If you're on an iPhone or an Android, you would have to get the desktop version up to click that join button, and then you can sign up £2.99 a month. So thank you for your support. It is greatly appreciated. Right, I think that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone for interacting with the show as ever. We'll be back again tomorrow. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Bye for now.